Hey Gearheads, and welcome to GT Garage Talk, a discussion about all things automotive. This week I have got something very special in store for you. It's been a minute since we've put out a podcast episode, and for good reason. I have been immensely busy growing the YouTube review side of what we do here at GT Garage Talk, but we started as a podcast, and that podcast really did morph and evolve into getting to know the people throughout the industry. And if you have followed this podcast for any length of time, you know that come October, we like to talk to the women of the Rebelle Rally, the Rebels, as it were. And that is a female-focused navigational rally that runs over a week through the deserts of the Western U.S. And I've gotten to know many great rebels through our conversations here on the podcast, and I have heard a name over and over. And when the opportunity came through a former rebel to get to interview the Emily Miller, the founder and the director of the Rebelle Rally, I said, absolutely, yes. I will take time out of my busy vehicle review schedule to make that happen. And so today on the podcast, leading up to the 10th running of the Rebelle Rally, we have Emily Miller, founder and director of the Rebelle. Sitting down now with Emily Miller of the Rebelle Rally after 10 years. Very exciting year for you. First and foremost, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm great. I'm finally home. I've been on the road since about the 1st of March,
Yeah.
and I got home last night. And so I have 2 nights at home before my next trip to Montana, which is in 2 days. And so I'm doing pretty good.
Awesome.
Doing
Awesome.
laundry.
Yeah,
It's a
well,
great
the
laundry.
essentials, you got to take care of them. Where is
Yeah.
home for you?
North County, San Diego. So
Okay.
Encinitas, California, a little surf town just north of San Diego.
Yeah, has that always been your home? Are you a California lifer or?
No, I married the lifeguard chief in Encinitas,
Okay.
and about 15 years ago, and I moved here from Colorado, from Crested Butte, Colorado. I'm originally born in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Hey,
So, yeah,
sort of in my neck of the woods. Little Rock ain't too far from here.
yeah,
So,
yeah. I was just there. I was there yesterday.
yeah, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been there a couple times. Unfortunately, I do believe the last time I was in the area was helping with tornado relief efforts.
Oh,
You got to love this part of the country, right? You never know what the weather will bring.
yeah. It was 100 degrees. I was filling a 20-yard dumpster full of concrete, which is not my normal job. And it was 180, about 82% humidity. And it just reminded me why I love living in North County, San Diego.
That
I mean,
area of California is still on my bucket list. I have not made it out to the San Diego area. I'll actually be in Northern California next week, so I'm looking for a little California dreaming in my future, but still have that
yeah.
portion of SoCal on my wish list.
It's a great spot because especially for what I do, because it's pretty centrally located. I can get into Baja really easily, but for the Rebelle, I'm only, 2.5 hours from the sand dunes, from the Imperial Dunes. I'm down near Ocotillo Wells. I can get up to Joshua Tree really quickly and that area. So it's really a great spot. And I just look at the temperature and it's 71 degrees. And it's July 24th. It's not 71 degrees probably anywhere else on the planet.
Now let's
So
see. It's 96 as I sit here, and my watch tells me it feels like 100. So yes, I am very much in my air conditioned studio with my ceiling fan going right now.
yeah, air conditioning. I know we're here to talk about cars, but when you go, when I was back in Arkansas and I tell people that I don't have air conditioning, they kind of look at me like, oh, I'm very sorry for you. Like, can we help you? I don't understand. You don't have air conditioning? Like, how can you survive? And they don't understand that there are places in the world that you can live where you don't need it.
Yes, and the freedom of not having to worry about the thermostat day in and day out.
Wow.
But
Oh. 7.
So you did bring up Rebelle. That is what brings us together today. And I could give a short elevator speech of what I know of Rebelle, having interviewed many Rebels over the past 3 to 4 years here on the podcast. But I really want to hear it from you, the creator of the Rebelle Rally, because I've been blown away from the moment I first heard about it. I was like, this sounds awesome. And it had me coming back, wanting to find more rebels to talk to hear about their experience and how it worked.
Well, I'd love to be a fly on the wall in those interviews and hear how they, differ,
Nothing but praise sent your way, I will say that.
Well, thank you. The Rebelle Rally is the longest competitive off-road rally in the United States. It is 11 days. This year it's 9 days of competition, 8 days of scored competition. And our mission is to execute a world-class car rally. As an aside, it just so happens to be for women. I don't say women only; it's women focused. And the reason why is when I was racing, there were really no women. I've been a driving coach for over 2 decades and trained thousands of people to drive off road. And fortunately, I had the most amazing mentor on the planet, Rod Hall, and I really wanted when I was coaching and when I was racing, there were really no women, but there's no barrier to entry. And even in the training courses, women were encouraged to come, that it was the line of business that they were in the tire industry, and they didn't come. And so I wanted something where women had no excuse to say no. But the single most important thing to us is that it is a reputable, world class car rally. So then it's really a badge of honor for women. And so that's what the Rebelle is today, 10 years later. When I was told we couldn't do it in America, there's no way we'd get the permits. We couldn't pull this off. You can't do this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm really thankful for all the people that discouraged me because that was really lit a fire.
Well, that's awesome to hear because, yes, I've spoken to many women in the industry and I hear similar themes of, you can't do that or, you know, not really for you, not built for you. And to hear you come out there and just say, let's pull those barriers down. Let's make something happen. That's just awesome. Even more awesome is that you're celebrating 10 years of doing that. Even more awesome is from my vantage point as an automotive journalist, getting press releases in my inbox every single day as we lead up to the Rebelle, seeing all the brands, Honda sending teams of, I believe it was last 2 years ago, Mercedes Lilienthal was one of the first non-Honda employees to participate in a Honda sanctioned vehicle there at the event. But it has become bragging rights now for engineers, for their vehicles, for brands. So yes, you've created this fun, first class, world class event that has run 10 years, but now brands are using it as a testing ground. How does that make you feel as the creator of this?
Well, it makes me feel great. uh, the reason why it's so great is it was built for that
Mhm.
because there are very few competitive events that favor the stock class vehicle. And I don't mean stock class in racing because when you go to a stock class race, is it really a stock car?
Yeah.
Yes, it is,
It's a
but
very loose term.
are you driving it to the office on Monday? No. I wanted a really great proving ground for the vehicles we buy. The vehicles we buy have all this incredible engineering, have millions of dollars worth of testing that's put into the car, and then you go out to competitive events and they rip it all apart, and then they bolt things on and things break and they weren't designed that way. And I love what racing does to elevate um, engineering. But in terms of the crazy things that they do in unlimited types of events, etc. But the Rebelle is designed for the vehicles that we can go buy at the dealership. And what I want to see is that the manufacturers believe that this is the place to put it, not just on a proving ground with their engineers driving a circle track, for
Mhm.
miles and miles and miles, but the people who are really going to drive their cars. They're incredible machines. I love bicycles. I love, cars. I love things that are like functional, artistic pieces of engineering. And that's what our cars are in our driveway are. And so there are very, very few events that you can name where you can really put your stock car in your driveway, your daily driver to the test. But they're designed to be able to do these things. They really are. So it feels, Corey, it feels great. It feels great. This year, I mean, Toyota has a big engineering program.
Mhm.
Um, Ford, we've had Chevy had two great engineers in there last year. BMW has an employee in this year. Honda, it's just awesome. That we have a Land Rover employee. It's just it's very satisfying to see that the thing you kind of bet your life on
Mhm.
that even if it stops tomorrow, we can say, well, we did 10 years of it and they believed in it. Yes. So thanks for recognizing that, because it's really important to the whole staff and to the whole team.
Yeah, that was really the I mean, there are so many aspects that appeal to me because the whole non-GPS thing, the no cell phones, no like I am hugely tech forward. So like
Me
unplugging,
too.
yeah, unplugging, that is like a whole aspect of a challenge unto itself to me. Then having the stock vehicles, then I mean, you've had EVs out there. Again, bringing up Mercedes Lilienthal, she did a electric VW out there, and just knowing some of the different classes and the fact that it really does take us back to that old adage, race on Sunday, sell on Monday.
Mhm.
It actually is what you can buy at the dealership and not anything more. Yes, we can all go to the aftermarket and fix them up ourselves, but
Yes.
I do applaud as a journalist who tests new vehicles, you actually putting these to the test. And now, as this has progressed over the years, I remember last year, Team Brute Squad, Jill Simonillo and Kristen Shaw were testing a Ram RHO in the Rebelle before the media drive ever even happened. So we couldn't talk, they couldn't talk either about their driving impressions of it, but they were putting it through its paces. And to have a brand invest so heavily on something like that, putting two journalists in a vehicle, stock vehicle, in a competitive situation before anyone else has driven it, that's a big risk on their part too. Going back to your betting your life on this event, this idea. And so, yes, I very much congratulate you on the success of Rebelle over the years.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And yeah, it's really pretty brave for the car companies to
Mhm.
put these cars in. But for the engineering programs, can you imagine putting in an engineer for 11 days? And really, it's more like 15 days by the time they've gotten there. They've also done testing in that vehicle. So, how many days they have living in that car? So, when someone says, why do you put this switch right there? I need it. I can't see it. And then they go, "Oh, I get it." Another group that's in Magna,
Mhm.
they are such an important B2B, manufacturer in the automotive space, and they have employees that are in. We had a chassis engineer say, "Wow, that was really great. I designed on the computer, and I took a hit so hard. All I could think about is, Hmm, I wonder, I'm not sure if I could do that 10 times that hard. Maybe, I'm gonna remember that." So I think it's actually a very inexpensive
Mhm.
way for the vehicle manufacturers to take away a lot of truly real world experience away from Detroit, away from these places, and the places people drive trucks and SUVs.
And yes, you hit the nail on the head. because of the involvement of engineers of these manufacturers in this type of environment, you do get smarter in products to the rest of our consumers. So this is doing a great service to the entire automotive world. You talked about switches and gears and buttons in certain places. I've got in my driveway right now a vehicle I've been waiting to test for over a year now in the Honda Passport Trail Sport. And Honda does a very unique thing with their trail cams. The button for it is not anywhere on the dash. You'd expect it on the dash or in the center console. It's on the turn signal or the wiper stalk on the right side of the steering wheel. And it's such an intuitive spot when you know it's there. And it's small things like that that we as end consumers can say, because of Rebelle and things like that, where engineers and OEMs are investing heavily in testing what they make, that the rest of us just we reap the rewards. So again,
Yeah.
just another thank you to the work that you've done through Rebelle.
Thank you. Thank you. Oh, I'll tell you a cool function. So Rivian put in the Rivians. It was the first time the Rivian was driven, outside of the company, and that was Emmy Hall and Rebecca Donaghy. And we we worked with Renewable Innovations, built the infrastructure to be able to remote rapid power those cars, and it was really. I thought it was going to be easier. Turned out it wasn't. Thankfully, RI stayed in there with us for the long haul, but they actually ended up modifying and putting in sand mode based on their experience through the Rebelle because their region braking was so heavy. But when you get into sand, you need a mode that eases off the region braking because the second you lift, you're going to bog down really badly. But how would you know that just driving around, on the streets until you get into to deep sand? You don't know you need it. You're thinking battery regeneration and getting as much mileage as you can. But in adventure-based vehicles, you're constantly juggling, what you need. Uh, so that's a fun one.
That is. And, EVs are such an interesting, a frontier would be the good word for it, especially when it comes to wheeling. And we're starting to see more and more of it happen. I mean, there's an XRT Ionic 5, there's the Trail Boss Silverado EV, there's more and more that we're starting to see in that space. And to your point, yes, if your only testing involves driving it around the streets of Detroit or you name it, you're not going to get the same end product as what you get actually putting it through the sand. And that's an awesome anecdote, just knowing that um, real action was taken from Rebelle.
Yeah, yeah, it's fun.
So
It's really fun.
that kind of leads me into okay, so now we've got major brand sponsorship, but take us back a decade ago. What did year one look like? I know it wasn't what it is today. It has grown and evolved. Everything changes. GT Garage Talk isn't what it started out to be, but the broad strokes are probably there at the beginning. But what did year one look like?
Well, year one was about 3 years in the making,
Mm.
but really the same intention. The intention for what the vision is was the same. But we knew it was going to take a lot of time and us proving ourselves that we were for real because I didn't think that anyone would believe us. I didn't walk out going, hey, this is what we're doing. Everybody jump on board. It's going to be great. Um, but I can tell you that we are very loyal to the people that did jump on,
Mm.
right at first. And we created our own format. So even though it draws conclusions from various forms of rally, we knew that we needed a type of a format that wasn't based on speed. But how do you win if it's not based on speed? That's the simplest thing. Drop the flag here. You have one course you follow, and the flag drops here, and you have some waypoints, virtual waypoints. It was not that. So how do you win? So I knew that, I had competed in some different rallies and different formats. And I knew that I wanted the type of format then when a rebel walks out of the rebel, they are going to have a number of experiences and a number of skills that they can translate that to other rallies. But what I didn't want is that they would just be good at the rebel. So we had with myself, Chrissy Beavis, Jimmy Lewis, who are very well known in the country and globally and in rally and competition. We sat down and we just said, look, we have to really think about how we can accomplish this on public lands and how we make it really interesting and then meet the goal of they're going to become very well-rounded drivers and navigators. And so that took a while. So we ended up with a format that is a two-part challenge format. It's compass and map navigation, which is actually really, really hard. And then traditional roadbook navigation. But instead of like common rally, which is lowest score wins, because in rally, a lot of times you just start racking up these penalty points. And we wanted highest score wins. And we wanted the ability for someone to make a mistake and then throw this big Hail Mary pass and make a comeback, really push the competitors to believe that they can do that. So it took a while to come up with the format, and that took a long time. And then we couldn't manually score it. We needed to develop the technology and the scoring system to, make sure that we don't have human error. There is no better way to discredit a competition than having human error in scoring. So that took a while. And then, we had to figure out how to get fuel into the middle of nowhere, how to build these base camps in the middle of nowhere. And so year one was like this big grand experiment, and 44 teams signed up, in the first year. I mean, it was very exciting. And hats off to them because it was like we were on this crazy voyage to, discover the North Pole. I mean, none of us knew if we were going to make it. And we have some great stories from that first year, like the food truck getting lost and stuck, the semi getting stuck in silt beds, only half a base camp showing up, half of our staff turns out they don't know how to navigate and they're driving halfway to Las Vegas when we're driving toward Southern California. Just it was so funny, but we really all worked very hard to make it look very seamless, but it was wild. I would say we were very fortunate because the Bureau of Land Management is where we hold our primary longest permits in through multiple offices, multiple states. And when you say the word rally or you say the word race, usually some heels dig in. But we are very fortunate that the people at BLM in Nevada took us very seriously, took the time to learn what we were all about, and helped us start navigating the challenges of being able to permit it. So that was, if you don't have a permit and you don't have any maps and you don't have any fuel and you have no tracking, and you have no insurance, you're not going to have a rally. If you ever, without that, you're not happening.
Right.
You can make the rest of it happen. So I would say that those 5 primary areas were what were really challenging. Looking back, it seems like it was yesterday and about 30 years ago, all at the same time. Um, I will tell you one story. The first day of the rally, we had just had tech inspection the day before. The rally is starting that day. It is 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm at South Lake Tahoe, beautiful old historic Valhalla location. And I get a call from one of our staff and says, "Hey, Emily, run outside." I was sleeping in our Sprinter van. I'm in my underwear and I sprint out to the shore of Lake Tahoe and I look up and there's a huge forest fire. I get a call from the venue and says, "Hey, the roads are closed. You have to evacuate. We're going to have to tell you how to break into the facility." And we're getting ready to have our first rally school competitor briefing and then the rally starts. And there's no way we can do that. I mean, we have to evacuate. And so that's when I knew that I had the best team on the planet. I had the best staff. Jimmy Lewis rides through the forest on his dirt bike around the roadblocks. We had staff, Shelly and Rich Klein. Rich Klein has been in the industry forever in the rock crawling world. He goes to the roadblock. Chrissy Beavis finds us a new location to hold our first meetings. The staff communicates to the entire rally, and we move the entire start of the rally, move out all of our equipment in about 2 hours, well, less than 2 hours, about an hour, hour and a half. And we were only 30 minutes behind schedule. And all I can think about, and then it started snowing. And so I thought, I have a feeling this is how it's going to be for about 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's true. It's been kind of, there's always something big that makes you remember it's not supposed to be easy.
Right. And so that was year one, like
That's the one.
wildfire, relocating, and all that.
Oh, it was a mess, but it was really fun.
So after that, you're kind of like feeling like a superhero. You're like, okay, if we can pivot, we can adjust. If we can be this flexible, it's almost a blessing in disguise saying, okay, this is a hurdle that can be overaccomplished. Push on.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nothing but solutions. The second that we leave for the rally, it becomes extreme problem solving.
Mhm.
So we have to make sure that all the other pieces of the rally are really in place. Our ducks are in a row, I's dotted, T's crossed, because we can't be wasting any time on the things that should have been done because we know we're going to get a curveball, a flash flood, a massive windstorm, a base camp being wiped out. I mean, it happened last year, it happened 3 years ago, like all these things. The government shut down. They always fund the government. And if they don't fund the government by the end of September, the government shuts down on October 1st, right before the rally.
Right.
So, we always have that to contend with. So, yeah, I would just say it's crazy, extreme problem solving. So you have to have a really great staff. And I think we have the best staff in the business, honestly.
Yep. It really sounds like you do. Just from year one, being able to pivot and problem solve, as
Yeah.
you said. So I know in my conversations with rebels, I don't want to say former rebels, most all of them are still competing or plan to compete again at some point. I know training for them is a big part of moving forward and getting in and getting ready, because again, it's a whole nother world, a navigational rally without GPS, without cell phones. And I've seen my friends go through the training process. How does
Mhm.
Rebel itself help facilitate their drivers, their participants in getting ready? Is there a formal, like, hey, we're meeting up on this day at this leg of the course, or is it all team based and the teams get together? How does prep work as y'all move towards October?
Yeah, well, we have what is called Rebel U or Rebel University, and it is actually not just for people who are doing the Rebel. It's driving and navigation classes, and we do sand dune classes. We do great off-road driving classes, fundamentals, very similar to what Rod and I, taught through the years, and then we do navigation training courses, and we also have something called trials. And trials is a 1 day mock competition. So you literally get a stage of the Rebelle to try your hand at. So we do that. There's a program in the Northeast. We have a couple of programs that have been approved to teach Rebelle, to use the name and be able to use or to teach Rebelle. And then a lot of competitors get together and train together. I would say they practice together. And we also have online training. We have, like, when you register, you get video classes, you get curriculum, you get downloadable maps, you get a day in the life of Rebelle. Like day one, the road book, the C checkpoint guide, all the maps to work with. But you have to know how to plot a latitude longitude coordinate, and you have to pass that at tech. That is not a hard thing to learn, but I'd say 99.999% of the planet doesn't know how to do that, but it doesn't take long to learn either. So, which means you can plot a GPS coordinate onto a paper map accurately. Yeah, and you have to do it accurately.
Yeah,
Accurately. That's the key.
I'm just running through my brain right now, and I'm like, yeah, I don't know how to do that. I'm part of the majority there for
Yeah,
sure.
it's great too. Like you can go on rebellerally.com, you go to Rebel U, and I actually have a video during COVID. When we realized like we couldn't teach classes, we immediately started online courses, and we did Facebook lives. It interestingly, Zoom wasn't a huge thing until the middle of COVID, and so we did a lot of Facebook lives, which were great. And but those classes are online, and you can watch them now and learn how to plot a coordinate. Learn how to plot a coordinate if you don't have a map divider, how to make your own, how to make your own tools. And so that is how we help, from classes to online classes to uh, working with groups around the country that can teach, because we can't also be everywhere.
Right.
And rebels are really good about teaching classes too. Um, but they never really stop training. I mean, I would say that our top teams, our top 3, 4, 5 teams, they still come to Rebel U trainings
Yeah.
pretty much every year. Yeah, just to
Never
keep
stop
working.
learning, right?
Yeah, isn't that the truth? It's very interesting how I see some people, take a class and then go, "Oh, well, I've taken the class. I must know how to do it now." It's sort of like saying, "I took a ski lesson once, and now I should be able to be a world class skier." It just doesn't work that way. And so we really find that the top teams in Rebel are the ones that train really all the time. That's something that has changed over the 10 years. When we first started, people really didn't know what it was. They didn't have the same amount of skill. And as the skills have increased in the teams, so has the challenge. And I think it can be kind of discouraging in the first year. I think people come in and they want to win the Rebelle in their first year. Well, that's like saying I want to win the Baja 1000 or the Dakar in my first year. Not going to happen. You're competing against, someone who's now done, after this 10th year, we have people that will have literally 80 start lines and 80 finish lines at the Rebelle under their belt. So having reasonable expectations is very
Mhm.
important, but the game has gotten harder, and it's had to really challenge the best. But we do have a rookie, if there are people listening that, want to do it, we have a rookie class, not class, but a rookie ranking.
Mhm.
So if it's your first year, there's a podium for, first year. And it's gotten really hard. We say it's hard and you go, okay, yeah, sure, it's hard. Yeah, it can't be that hard. Sure, it's hard. And then I have people write letters and say, "Hey, I'm really sorry. You're right. The rally's really hard. I feel like I
Wake
disrespected it
up
because I
call.
didn't try hard enough. And I'm going to be back because I left stuff on the table."
Yeah.
So that's where we are at year 10.
Well, that's awesome to hear. Which kind of takes me into, okay, this is your brainchild, it's something you've created, worked on, nurtured, gone through the years with. It's evolved. You've evolved with it. It is a very unique. You were describing creating it. You created a scoring system. It was like, uh, I'm a big baseball fan. I've been following the rise of Banana Ball and how they created
Mm.
a new sports league and had to think of all the challenges there. So that is absolutely something that you've done along the way. Extreme problem solving, as you've said. How many times do you participate in the Rebel itself, or are you the chief cheerleader during the event and you're running it off season to speak of?
Well, I would love to compete in the Rebelle because we created a rally that I want to compete in. Same with Chrissy. We both said, this is the rally we want to do. If we could take it to like Africa, we could do this format and do it for speed, but you can't do that here for speed in America. But I can't compete in it because I set the course. So I set every one of those checkpoints. Although actually sometimes I'll send Jimmy out and I go, okay, I need you to set these, 8 checkpoints. But they're about between 260 up to 300 checkpoints that are unique locations, physical locations on the ground that I set every year. And the course changes every year. So, and Jimmy and I really care about having a course that gets us fired up. And we'll change the course direction because if we go this way, we would have this beautiful pass and reveal at our backs. Well, they have to approach it the other way so they can see this big reveal. And then we'll make it a checkpoint challenge instead of an enduro challenge so they can stop and click at a checkpoint and see this amazing place. So I have my fun setting the course, but I can't compete in it. So last time I compete, my last competition was in 2019. I went over and did the Carta Rally in Africa. Really great rally. The guy that owns and operates that, I think a lot of, and they also have what's called Baja Morocco, and the Carta is great, and I like the format. It's fast moving, but it's GPS,
Mm.
but you still have to really read the terrain. It's not a you make your own course. It is a very interesting format. And so I'll go sneak away and do things like that. But someday, maybe someday, somebody will take this thing over for me and I can compete in it. And that would really be fun.
That's going to be a story unto itself. Like,
Mm.
you will need a camera crew just following you, getting to see you experience it as a rebel for the first time. That would be. You were mentioning being a fly on the wall for some of my interviews. That would be one to be a fly on the wall for. Is
Oh,
all right.
yeah.
You finally get to experience it in its fullest uh, after creating it, nurturing it for so many years.
No, no mics in the car. Nobody gets to hear what I'm going to say.
Next up on my list, listening to you, how you set up the checkpoints and waypoints and things like that. I'm very curious. What vehicle do you run? Is it the same one every time? Is it what you've got at hand? Like,
Okay, well, there are a few. So I have a Ford Ranger, and that has been modified. It was a Ford Ranger trimmer. It was before the Raptor came out, and it's been upgraded with Total Chaos fabrication, suspension parts, and King 2.5. A nice little kit for that truck. It's lightweight. It's that truck is about 4,000 pounds. I have the new Pirelli XTMs on it, which is their new off-road tire. Amazing, and it is so much fun to drive. It's like driving a toy truck
mm,
or like a little go-kart in the dunes because it's so lightweight. The other couple of cars that I'll be in is, and there are very few people I'll pre-run with. One is Nicole Patel, who owns Total Chaos Fabrication. She's one of the best drivers out there. She's also one of the best dune drivers. She's one of the few people I trust in the car. And the we run in what we vehicle we called Seabiscuit, which is a Lexus GX 460. I used to run a car I called Princess because she looked like a princess, and it was a GX 470. They have exceptional suspension components. And then Morocco Taco, which is a modified Toyota Tacoma. And then when I'm with Jimmy Lewis, we run in one of his beat up Dodge trucks that has seen a lot of action. One called the Blue Flame, and one called the golf ball because it was just damaged in a hailstorm. And let me tell you, we put vehicles to the test. But I will also take out vehicles that manufacturers will send us to test out. The first year, this was a pretty neat story. Um, the first phone call I got was from an agency for BMW when it was announced. The Rebelle, I believe, is on Road and Track in Jalopnik. And BMW, I called BMW and I said, "Hey, can I borrow a media vehicle? Because I want to test and see how the X Series does on the course for the crossover, what we call X Cross class." And they said, hang on. They called me back, said, hey, we like what you're doing so much. We're going to build you an X5. And if you like it, hang on to it for a while. And if you don't like it, just send it back. But yeah, for sure, go pre-run the course. Well, I loved it.
Yeah.
And I even kept the street tires on it. They were pair run flats. And you would think, oh, well, your course can't be very hard. Well, I just wanted to show that, if you're careful and you drive smart and you check your ego at the door and
Mhm.
you drive the car you have, not the car you wish you had. Although I wish I had that car. That's a great car. And so I'll run those cars to make sure that the course is appropriate for these vehicles. The X Cross vehicles, like the Subarus, the BMWs, the Hondas, they have a little bit different course or set of checkpoints than the four
Mhm.
by fours do. But I, you know, if we'll run in two-wheel drive a lot. Of course, you know how drivers are off road. It's like, I'll show you how much I can drive this in two-wheel drive. So we do a lot of that. It's pretty fun. Um, but I'm not picky. I love driving off road because it's like skiing. I absolutely love it. And I love trying out different vehicles. I think it keeps you fresh, as opposed to just getting so dead set on one type of vehicle. I think it's nice to, see what's out there. I can tell you that, uh, the new Ranger Raptor, when the what I really like seeing right now is that the manufacturers putting out great cars, great trucks, great SUVs, not just really well thought out. I think that government regulations and some of the restrictions and requirements that they have on them are challenging. Um, but I we were conducting a sand dune course, and twice we used crawl control on the Toyotas to get vehicles unstuck from a terrible side slope, kind of almost roll situation. And watching that crawl control work was just so fun. So I'm those are the vehicles I
Yeah.
run, but hand me anything and I'll go pre-run in it.
I love to hear
That
it.
that's the fun stuff everybody always asks, like, "Can I go pre-run with you?"
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's kind of a secret.
It, it sounds like it'd be a trip all unto itself. Okay. I'm looking at the clock. I don't want to let all the time go by without getting into your brain a little bit. I know we've talked a lot about Rebelle here, but w- how, where, like your roots are Little Rock, Arkansas. How do we start Little Rock, Arkansas to creating this decade long Rebelle Rally with no GPS, no electronics, and it's a pure driving skill? Like, where's the bridge the gap for me?
I'll give you the very tall building elevator story on this. Born in Little Rock, Arkansas. Second home, like home and home also where my heart is, Colorado. But I, ended up out in San Francisco. I came from the sports medicine world, ended up in the sports marketing world, especially during .com. Had incredible mentors and bosses and work experiences. I was able to start my own sports marketing company. That was after my brother died. I helped raise his kids back in Colorado. Start a sports marketing company, have great clients. Was able to produce very large, very hard to produce events for companies such as like Red Bull, and they always have the crazy ideas. You think it
Yes.
can't be done, it's like, okay, we can do that. um, so then met Rod Hall. I was a consultant to the Reno Lake Tahoe Tourism Authority. Met him at the National Automobile Museum. Became friends, started working together. He taught me how to drive off-road, and then he gave me an opportunity to drive for his team. But at the same time, here I was producing, really large events up to 70,000 plus person events. I also used to produce the Red Bull Supermoto National Finals for the AMA. Did some really fun stuff there. Various big events, and so really, and then I was raced for Rod. Started coaching with Rod. Ran his program for Michelin BFG, and so really kind of took then I was planning on competing in the FIA World Championships of cross country rally. That was the goal. And then General Motors went bankrupt, but at around that same time, but I had gone over and done a rally in Morocco. And that was awesome. Really loved Morocco, loved spending time there. But it was a format that didn't translate that well as shortest distance, but literally is like turn your tire, from go around a rock because you don't want to break your car.
Mhm.
And, you could lose the rally in over 9 days. I was like, okay, really love the experience, love the travel. Rod taught me that the best way to see the world is from behind the windshield. You get to go to these incredible places. And so I knew, also, I think it was a stretch. I wanted to see more women be able to compete. Took a lot of women to compete over in Africa. It's great, from Sarah Price to Jessie Combs to Rochelle Croft, all these different people. It was really fun. And I love being able to teach them and help coach them and develop them. And, but I also think it's a big stretch, to spend that much money and that much time and go to these places when we have some of the best terrain on the planet.
Mhm.
And I love endurance events. I am an endurance person. I'm a last man standing kind of, like, not short, like, if I'd love, the Rebelle could be 30 days. And it's like, that's fine by me. My staff will shoot me for saying that. So that's how that ended up. I wanted a world class car rally that felt international in the US because we really don't have that. And it's the beauty of these great rallies and great competitions. And it's a great way to see the world. But I still think we have the best terrain you can find. And so what I did is I took the experience um, from business and from event production, large, difficult event production, to building a team of people. I've been fortunate to work with great content collectors. I worked on King of the Hammers for many years. I helped Dave Cole
I've
with
interviewed
that
Dave.
for 13 years. I worked on that for 13 years, brought in the Jumbotrons and, great live webcasting team and, all of those in the media program. So I love doing all that. But then I was able to also combine my experience in endurance rally and racing, the things I like, the things I don't like, mash it up into something that feels like us. And I think it happened at the right time because I really did need, I am not young. I needed all that lifetime of experience to be able to make this happen. And the goal is to make it sustainable and enduring past me.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I, I have enjoyed watching it from the sidelines essentially over the years. Uh, Seeing from our first interview with Rebels years ago to having repeat guests on the podcast that are now I consider close friends, even though I see them once, twice a year, maybe in person, and just getting to live vicariously through their training, through them running it, seeing what they're driving that year. It's always been it's been fun on the sidelines, just to see the growth even of Rebelle. And like I said earlier, all the press releases that I get in my day job of the brand saying they're competing or they took home the win in this class, and it's fun to see. And my business brain loves it, and I rejoice
oh,
for
thank
you.
you. Thank you. Thank you. That really means a lot. You know, it's It's a wild ride, right?
Yep. Yeah. Well, I do have other questions, but it would take us down a completely different path. And I do want to be very respectful of your time. So I thank you so much for joining me today. As I always do, I want to end the interview, the discussion here, with some fun little trivial questions to end on. Not that there's been a low point of this interview at all, but end on a whimsical note, I guess would be the right term. So as we've talked, I've looked at my list of random questions, and I've picked out 5 that I think are very appropriate to end on a whimsical note. First one being, this one's near and dear to my heart. There is a wrong answer to this one, but I feel like you're already on the right path, given the conversation already. Do you name your vehicles?
I do. I do. I name my vehicles. In fact, I name other people's vehicles too.
Yes, I picked up on that very astutely as you're talking about Princess and the others. Are there any fun names that you want to throw out there? Maybe vehicles long gone that you really wish you had back, or
Well, I think one of my favorite names was Princess because it just made Nicole so mad. She did not want her car being called Princess, and but it stuck. And so that was a fun one, just because I know it annoyed her so much, and then she fell in love with it. Um, my current truck is the Lone Ranger
hmm,
because it's really the only Ranger in the Total Chaos uh, upgraded fleet. Um, Gosh, you know what? I'm gonna have to think about that one. There have been a lot of names because
yeah,
too, what happens is we teach these classes, and so we'll get into class and we'll number the vehicles. But what we'll do is we'll have people tell us the name of their cars, and if they don't have a name, we'll name it for them.
hmm,
Um, because it's easier for us to remember the name of the car than the number of the car
yeah.
or whatever. So I'm gonna have to think about that one. But Princess is a good one. Seabiscuit was named because Seabiscuit was a famous racehorse that was kind of a sleeper. Nobody really thought that that was going to be a great horse, and the world fell in love with that horse. And so that's why when you see Seabiscuit, I'll send you a link to the build on that car,
Okay,
and you can see why she's called Seabiscuit.
all right. I look forward to it. Maybe even the thumbnail for this video. But next up, color or grayscale? It seems like modern vehicle palettes from manufacturers have gone
Ah,
the way of the German rainbow, as we joke here on the channel. But are you loud, bright colors, or are you just give me something earth tone or grayscale?
I'm definitely not grayscale. I feel like in Southern California, you can't even drive in like Newport Beach unless you have a late model blue, black, or black, gray, or white, some type of high end car. It gets really old and really boring. So I like color. I really do.
Well, you're acing this exam so far. I joked that the first question had a right or wrong answer, but that one did as well. This one truly does not, because I'm a fan of both vehicles, but it very much aligns with what you do. And I kind of feel like I know where you line up in this. The debate is waning a bit since Bronco has been with us for a few years now. But are you Team Wrangler or are you Team Bronco? They both have their merits.
Can't say it.
Yeah, you've
Well,
got.
we are. I'm partners with both companies. And I really like both for different reasons. And actually, we just did a Pirelli launch of the new tire, and I had a fleet of Jeep Wrangler Rubicons, and I had a fleet of Broncos. And we drove the Broncos in the dunes, like roosting big dunes fast, and we drove these Jeep Rubicons literally like driving off cliffs. And gosh, I just think it's great that there are a lot of choices. So I'm going to do the politically correct thing and say, isn't it great to have choice?
I
But
100.
good, but great on Ford. for really thinking about the design and the options on those Broncos, but both are great.
I 100% agree with you and don't fault you for that answer at all. Having tested both extensively, I
Yeah.
agree. And again, my business mind, I've got my management degree. Like, I applaud more choice for consumers. And it is the you may be 100% team Jeep all the way and laugh anytime you see a Bronco, but the Jeep is better because of Bronco. And they will both continue to get better because of the other.
Yeah, and when you have more choice, it energizes the whole segment because, and people have different manufacturers that they love or different styles that they love. But when you have choice, people get really excited that about the thought of being able to go adventure in their vehicle.
Yeah.
So I think it's been great for the industry.
I'll ruffle some feathers with some of the listeners here. So I'm Team Camaro 100%. I would only be in, I'm only involved with cars because of Camaro. But look at the history of Mustang. When Camaro bowed out the first time, Mustang got a little stale. It wasn't quite as fun as when you had Camaro there. Granted, Challenger came up out of nowhere. So again, competition is a good thing for everybody. So,
Yeah, totally.
okay. Very.
I love Camaros. We had 2 Camaros when I was a little kid, and that was back in the '70s,
Mm.
and they were so fun, and one was beige. What a random color with the black vinyl top
Yeah.
Camaro. And the cone, the pointed, like, cone
Mm.
lights. Oh,
Mm.
it's beautiful.
Next one is very appropriate again for what you do. You were speaking just how good the electronics are in vehicles nowadays and crawl control, this, that, and the other. Manual or automatic?
Manual.
Yeah, good.
I just I'm a left foot breaker, driving off road. You still can on manual. I like it because it gives you more to do,
Mm,
keeps you really busy, makes driving in sand dunes more challenging. But you know what, great paddle shifters. I just like shifting,
right.
you know. But to tell you the truth, I take both. I don't want to sit in traffic
Mm-hmm.
in a manual transmission. Not on the 5 freeway.
Yeah. No. My Camaro that I had was a 2012 SS, and I took it one time to a NASCAR race at Texas Motor Speedway, and it took us 2 hours to get 10 miles away from the track. It was miserable, 6-speed manual. I said I will never drive a manual transmission to a race again. It was
Uh,
brutal, heavy clutch, like no. So yes, for the right circumstance, they're all
yeah,
great.
in the right circumstance. Yeah.
My brain, I've daily driven a 6-speed manual since 2012, and I anytime I test something with flappy paddles, I watched a lot of Top Gear. I cannot make my brain use them appropriately. I always forget, oh yeah, there's a paddle there. And
Yeah.
I let the engineer work shine. And I let my audience know. I'm like, look, you're not getting a good flappy paddle test from me. What did the engineers think this car should do? So,
Hey,
all right.
what's your daily driver?
My daily that's a funny story because I've had a general manager of a car dealership say, "What is a car guy doing driving the most vanilla car in the entire world?" And it's all financial. And the fact that I have new test vehicles in the driveway all the time totally negates what my daily driver is. But I had my 2012 Camaro SS. It was my dream car. I bought it when I turned 25. And I was living beyond my means, realized it, knew it was the car's fault. It was an emotional purchase. So I got a 2013 Chevy Cruze, boring car, with a manual transmission. And I was like, that was a stickler for me. I was like, if I'm going to go to a boring car, I at least want a manual transmission in it. That car, bless its heart, I only planned on having it 2 years, and it has lived through multiple hailstorms. It is the golf ball of our family now. Her name is Nellie Cruz. Again, I'm a baseball fan from Texas. Many of you will get that reference, but yes, poor old Nellie Cruz. Now my 7-year-old thinks it's going to be his first car, and I'm like, bro, like by the time you're driving this, this car's going to be in rough shape. Like, it's already in rough shape because it barely gets driven. But as of right now, he loves Nelly. So,
I would love Nelly. You just got to drive the car you have.
yeah. And she's paid
Yep.
off. She's been long paid off.
Yes.
So,
Not,
no car payments is a wonderful thing. I can't go back from there. All right. Last one of the random misfire questions. Favorite road trip snack?
oh, okay. So I go out in the middle of nowhere for days and we don't see anyone and we have nowhere to get food. So we really think about how we pack our Yeti. So my favorite road trip snack is salami, a layer of cream cheese, a fresh jalapeno with blackberry and a little squeeze of lime.
Interesting.
Yeah, I bet you haven't heard that one
No, I
before.
have not.
Yes,
It's
we have a chance to test, because I can be out on the trail for like 40 days a year laying out the course. And you can't eat bars for that many days. You can't. And we've had great lunches. Nicole is always coming up with Jimmy doesn't pack his great food. So I have to he can exist on, you know, a power bar. So, but yeah, I would say that is one of my favorites. Or the other thing too, when you're in a foreign country and it's hard to get, you can't get jalapeno peppers, all those kind of things. Dates
Mhm.
with brie or like soft cheese or even like laughing cow cheese, whatever. But brie with, dates with soft cheese in the middle, heaven, and like really, really good energy and tastes good. And you can find dates pretty much anywhere in
Nice.
Africa or the Middle East. So
Nice.
there you have
All right.
it.
Now I'm going to probe just a little harder for the next two. Every interview guest gets these same two questions. We've tweaked them subtly for inflationary reasons, but the first, given that, as you said, the best way to experience the world is behind the windshield,
Mhm.
if you could go on a road trip anywhere in any vehicle with anyone, what are you driving? Where are you driving? And who's riding shotgun?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Living or
Uh,
dead? I will specify that one.
so, uh, there's a place. Is it a place I've gone before or I've never been before?
Either, either.
Okay. Um, Mongolia in a Toyota Prado because I know that I can trust it, with my brother who is no longer living. And he had a motorcycle accident, and I helped raise his three boys, and he was the most amazing guy ever,
Yeah.
ever, ever. And he is the funnest person. So Mongolia with my brother. That would be one. You said two places. Did you say
Yeah.
two places?
You make the
Okay.
rules here.
Okay, the other one, would be Namibia, Botswana, South Africa, that corner up
Mhm.
there in the Skeleton Coast. Um, Same thing, probably be in a Toyota because I can get it fixed in case something goes wrong, a Toyota Prado, Land Cruiser. Although I'm a sucker for an Isuzu D-Max pickup.
Interesting. Okay.
They're great, super reliable, fun to drive, super fun to drive. Um, and that would be with my mom, who's no longer around, and I think she would have a lot of fun, um, seeing what I'm doing. She died right before the first Rebelle on Mother's Day, and so it would be and she was a bold, amazing woman, and, that would be a fun mother that's really fun when I get to see the mother-daughters
Mhm.
on the Rebelle competing together. And I think, gosh, I'd love to do that with my mom. So maybe it's the Rebelle in Seabiscuit or my Ranger with my mom.
Both of those sound like epic trips. So, uh, one day in another realm, that will happen.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it will probably happen.
And finally, last question. I'll quit picking your brain. But if you were given $100,000 blank check, but it had to be spent on a vehicle or vehicle accessories, I already know you're probably buying something and modifying it versus spending all 100,000 on the vehicle itself. Is it something Toyota? What you buying?
You know what? 100,000. There's a few there.
The question did start off at 60,000, and that shows you how long we've been asking this question.
Yeah, 60,000 just doesn't go as far as it used
No.
to. Honestly, this is going to sound really kind of odd, but uh, does it include the cost of the car
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
updating it?
Yeah.
Okay, I would buy an old BMW 3.0 CS.
Okay.
That is an elegant, cool, laid back car that's like a sleeper, but the design is beautiful. And I would restore that back to just like super cherry. The other thing, I would maybe an old, like a 1984 Audi um, Turbo Quattro, um, to turn into just a to restore as a rally car. So it was the four-wheel drive. It was what Michelle Mouton drove on Pikes Peak when she won Pikes Peak. Always been an Audi fan. I've owned a number of Audis. Um, I love the way they drive. Super fun to drive. And that was a very pivotal car for me. That was very inspirational when I was young.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, Audi, a little Audi GT. So there
Well,
you go.
Well, Emily, I thank you so much for joining me. As you can see, those 7 questions are very telling, and the commentary that goes with them. And as the interview goes along, like I said, I've got a long list here in front of me, but I figured those would lead inspiring questions. As we sign off here, though, if there are any aspiring rebels, I know October will be here before we know it. What do aspiring rebels need to know about the competition that we haven't covered through Rebel U and the conversation thus far?
Yeah. If you want to do the Rebel, you've got to start somewhere. So just sign up. You just have to start. If you think you're going to train and be prepared, you almost kind of don't even know what you're preparing for. So just sign up and jump in both feet first. It does sell out a long time in advance. So if you want to do it, get ready, and right about the time of the Rebel for this October, be ready to sign up for the next year. People also want to help you in your journey. Give them the opportunity to help you. You don't have to ask for 10, 15, $20,000. You just have to ask some people to support you. And so start the journey. No one has ever looked back and said, gosh, I wish I hadn't spent that money. I wish I hadn't done that. It might not be the total thing for you, but everyone who's done it, it is a very life impacting event. So there's also, you are welcomed into a pretty exceptional community of people, and they want to help you succeed. And, um, call us, don't be afraid to, the question is, what are you waiting for? So just sign up.
Well, as with all of our interviews with additional information needed, I will put that links and info down in the show notes. But Emily, thank you so much for joining us today and just kind of walking through your journey as you're helping women around the world walk and drive through theirs.
Thank you. Really appreciate you having me on. It's been great.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your time.
Well, there you have it, gearheads. Another conversation with somebody who is shaping the automotive industry as we know it. I really, really love to get to dive into the people who make the industry what it is. And from our discussion, it's very clear that Emily's fingerprints, in some way, shape, form, or the other, are on the vehicles that are in your driveway if you're driving a vehicle less than 5 years old, because the ingenuity that is going into cars nowadays is being tested firsthand at events like the Rebelle Rally. She mentioned Rivian having that one example of sand mode in the Rivian straight from their participation in the Rebelle. So not only do I applaud her for growing this event over a decade of time now and building it into what it has become, where brands are testing their actual products at this event, but I applaud just the work and the impact that she is making throughout the automotive industry. I know a lot of my friends, my former interview guests here on the podcast are all in the journalist realm, but I do know many engineers and many OEM operators have personally taken part in the Rebelle, and it's just really cool to see not only what it's become for them personally, but what it has become just overall through brand participation. So there you have it. Great conversation with Emily. If you want to know more about the Rebelle and what's going on, this year's already sold out, but you can get ready for a future year. Everything down in the show notes down below. Head on over to gtgaragetalk.com. But until next time, gearheads, bye.